Hi, Alan Henderson, Director Owner at Erskine Owen. Well, we're really pleased to announce that the second property in our daycare fund has now settled and we continue to pay out at the 6.25%. We've now got two properties in Hamilton and they're both going really well. Why have we chosen the daycare industry? Well, we set up a 5-property daycare syndicate just before the very first lockdown, and we had people quite rightly asking us the question, should we be going ahead and settling this property given the lockdown? And of course, both including our own advisors and investors. And what we really liked about it was the government came out and announced that they would be supporting the early childhood sector in the sense that they would be paying out the government funding based on pre-lockdown child number levels. So that meant throughout all of the lockdowns, they continued to receive their full government subsidies. So that's great for the sector, and what that tells us is that we had already been saying to investors that, look, it's a largely a government-funded sector, and that certainly came to bear when we got into the lockdown periods. What we've seen more recently is that the yields seem to be holding quite strong for daycare properties. We know of a recent property or daycare property in Hamilton that came out, the suggested cap range or yield range of early 5s to 5.5%, and we understand that it's under contract at 5.5%. It's not yet an unconditional sale, but from agents that we work with. So what we know is that at the moment there doesn't appear to be any collapse, certainly not a collapse, and from what we can see, not even a slide in capital values at this stage. So that's a really positive thing. And then as we get back into full capacity in the workforce and people are back to work, getting back into the office, it means that there is ongoing demand for preschool childcare, which is a positive thing as well. Then thirdly, the borders are beginning to open up again in the sense that migrant workers are able to get visas more easily, and they need to, because we need people here to fill certain jobs in certain sectors, and we are quite severely understaffed in this country in a sense. So what that means is that as the population begins to grow again, then of course there's increased demand for preschool and childcare needs. The other thing that's happening in the background, I encourage you to look into or talk to us about the detail of the legislation, is that the ministry has identified that they want to be careful about how many daycares they give licenses to. So we've introduced new hurdles to jump over in order to get a daycare license. And what that means is that operators must now not only prove that they've got a good curriculum and they've got good staff, but they also must prove that there's a sufficient demand in the catchment area for the proposed daycare. Why that's really good for the industry is it stops there being an oversupply of daycare properties. And so over time, as this legislation flows through, it means that it'll be harder to build new daycares, there'll be less coming on stream, and their demand-supply balance right. If you haven't yet invested in the daycare property opportunity or a daycare fund and you've seen the IM and thinking about it, then I'd love to hear from you. Do feel free to call me directly or call Karen Bailey and our team. Love to chat you through that and any questions you might have. What we often get asked is, what about the liquidity of the investment? How easy is it to get out of the fund if you wanted to sell? Our experience to date is that it's actually quite a simple process, as long as the investment is performing. So what happens is, call us up or email us saying you wish to sell. We tell you what the asset backing is of the investment, or basically what it's worth. We agree the price at which you're going to list it, and then we send that out to the other partners in the fund. If there's no takers from that, then we email it out to our database of 9,000 people. And what happens is, once there's an agreement from somebody that wants to buy at that level, then money changes hand, and it could be a week to 2 weeks. So actually quite good liquidity, and there's also the opportunity to list it on the Syndex exchange as well. Once again, if you haven't invested yet and you're thinking about it, love to hear from you. To those that have invested, congratulations. And for those that haven't heard about it, then we'll also be happy to get you an IM. Thanks very much and look forward to talking to you soon.